The original Mizuno Wave Enforce Tour was one of the most unique, surprising, comfortable, and fun playing shoes I've ever put on. So does the Mizuno Wave Enforce Tour 2 live up to them? Let's get into it. And thanks to Mizuno for sending me a pair of these over to check out. However, this video is not sponsored, and as always, all opinions, good, bad, and different, are all my own. I think it's kind of especially true in this video because, it's kind of a good and a bad thing, right? When a company comes out with what I consider a quote unquote generational shoe, as in, it just kind of breaks through the mold of all the others, which was the original Wave Enforce Tour. And so you almost look at the next one a little bit more hypercritical, and you kind of find all of its little faults or things that you like about it. So yeah, I mean, I don't intend to be hypercritical on them, but I do definitely want to point out kind of what is different between the ones and the twos, and if you like the ones, should you get the twos? So let's start off in the uppers. Now, as you can see on the lateral side, you do get kind of a lot of the same from the ones. You do get ribbons of polyurethane that does go all the way, I mean, almost entirely to the heel counter. They didn't bend or snap at all, which is really nice. Then as you go into the central forefoot, you do actually get quite a bit of padding, like right on the dorsal side of your toes, on the top side of your toes. That does not go into the tongue though. The tongue is very thin. You do get a little bit of padding more proximally on the ankle. However, I didn't really have lace irritation on these unless I was really cranking down on certain lace configurations, which we will talk about. Now, you do get a runner's knot in these things, and if I was just lacing traditionally with a Canadian lace or with a true runner's knot, heel slippage was mild. And if I had an orthotic in there or not, heel slippage was still just very mild. Now, in any other shoe, I would just give the 2 thumbs up and move on, except for the fact that the Wave Enforce Tour, the original, had a double ankle collar that locked you into these. They had the best lockdown of any shoe I've ever put on. The Wave Enforce Tour 2 took out the double ankle collar in lieu of a jutted out pad here around the heel counter. Now, that padding, like I said, is double thickness, and it's molded, right? It's got a double thickness mold around your Achilles and like kind of both sides of Kager's triangle. And that's great, and it does lock you in. But unlike a double ankle collar where the laces lace into, which is never going to break down, right? As long as you're lacing the shoe properly, it's gonna suck down around your ankle. This padding, I could see, potentially could start to allow a little bit more slippage over the lifetime of the shoe. Now, you're also gonna break the shoe in, so you'll also seat better in it, but I can see they were trying to go with just a simpler design. And like I said, it does work, right? No matter what lace configuration you use, or an orthotic in there, or a brace, yeah, like I said, heel slippage is just very mild. It's not the absolute lockdown of the ones. And like I said, there are, in later parts of the shoe, you'll see there are also some just simplifications of the design of these, which in some areas I actually think make them better. And in this area, I think maybe not. With that being said, going to the medial side of the shoe or the inside, you do get more very plush padding. It is, once again, an incredibly comfortable shoe. Look at this thing on the breathability test. It only heated up 108.9 degrees, which for all the material that's in it and for how plush and padded it feels and everywhere besides the tongue, that is pretty darn good. And look at the breathability mapping. As you can see, fog is getting out in between the polyurethane as well as around the tongue. Obviously, it's pretty thin. Look at this thing on the upper durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper 2. I mean, it doesn't make it through the backing of the drag guard. Plus, you get a ton of outsole rubber that comes up over there. And that rubber is actually scalloped, so it does have a little bit of grip to it as well. So that's also really nice. Honestly, in terms of draggers or sliders, these should be just fine. And like I said, everything besides the double ankle collar in the uppers, like I said, I think is pretty good. And like I said, lockdown is good. Don't get me wrong. It is good. It's just not one of my favorite elements ever in a shoe, like in the original double ankle collar. All right, but getting into the midsole, this was both weird, self-affirming, and interesting. Now, what you got here is dual density NRZ foam. You got a little bit softer NRZ on top, and then, more dense on the bottom. You also get a rear foot shank that goes from all the way to the back side of the heel to the middle of the midfoot. So it does cross a zone. It is thin and it is flexible, just like the original. Now, you do not get that other insert of foam that you did in the original, which I didn't really know it was inside of these when I was playing in them. And the funny part is, when I was playing them, I said, these actually feel a little bit more stable than the originals. They didn't feel as plush and pillowy underfoot, but they did feel more side to side stable. And I said, I wonder, like, did they extend the shank? Did they make the shank stronger? No, they basically just took out one level of foam in lieu of just the high and low density energy foam. And in terms, like I said, in terms of stability of the shoe, actually, it did work in terms of performance, in terms of, like I said, feelings of plushness and more of a pillowy feeling. The ones, like I said, feel a little more pillowy. These just feel a little bit more rugged. Now look at this thing on the balance height test. Got 34 centimeters in the rear foot, 32.5 in the forefoot. That is pretty typical for Mizuno's, concoction of that energy foam. So honestly, like I said, it's different, simplified, and to me, I definitely could tell underfoot before I knew that there was something different under there, that these felt a little bit more stable side to side. To me, I like it for the performance, but like I said, it is a little bit different feeling. Still very plush, still very comfortable, just not exactly the same feeling as the ones. All right, getting into the outsole tread, this is one giant pattern of flat herringbone on the medial side, and it's a punched in tread, right? So it's flat and punched in. And then on the lateral side, you get outcroppings of pretty thin herringbone, and you get a really big sliding channel through the middle of that. All this rubber is micro graded, which is fantastic. So you get macro and micro traction. Absolutely love that. Like I said, it is full length. So you do get a ton of ground contact. Same thing, grip test ramp slips at 37 degrees. Really no surprises there. If you want to stop on these things, you can. If you want to slide, you can too. The durometer is a little over 17, so not the hardest rubber on the planet, but it's got that same great tactile feeling, makes that same sound. Like it's the same, outsole rubber, so it still feels absolutely incredible on foot, really transmits a lot of biofeedback. Absolutely love it. Look at this thing on the outsole durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. Basically the burr wipes off the micro gritting, maybe gets a little bit extra. It does not get a millimeter of damage though. So the one thing I did hear people complain about in the ones was longevity of the outsole. It does not appear to be any different. Let's say in terms of long-term durability of the outsole, I'd say these are still gonna be pretty middle of the road, kind of like the original ones, but still, like I said, that same fantastic feeling underfoot. Look at these things on the speed ratio, coming in at 2.22, shank score of 0.2, brings it up to a 2.42. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where they belong. They're, middle of the road to a little bit faster. Remember, to me, I kind of classify the Enforce Tour as right in that sweet spot between pretty aggressive and quick, nimble, speedy shoe, but also kind of like an ultra comfortable, supportive, something I can actually recommend to people with some snake bites, lumps, bumps, and bruises on their foot. And for that, I think it definitely retains it from the one. Honestly, I think speed in these is better than the ones, just because you can corner easier, stop easier. It's just all around an easier shoe to get around side to side. And the nice thing about the time of year I got these is yeah, on indoor courts when it's perfect, yeah, they felt great, obviously. But then on outdoor courts when the line was, those lines were slick, they had been icy, I just cleared all that snow off, that took forever. And even outdoors in those really kind of brutal conditions where those lines just were not forgiving, it was still pretty stable. So yeah, in terms of speed, I think it's a little bit of a step up, but a clear step up, especially in side-to-side speed. All right, in terms of fit of the Enforce Tour 2, these things have a resting position of 1 degree everted. They do allow 2 more degrees of eversion with loading, so not bad. They allow just a little bit of forgiveness, nothing too crazy, so still pretty stable. They have a 10-degree inflare, which is, mellow, middle of the road. And they come in at 28.7 centimeters in length, 9.7 centimeters a metatarsal width, 10.7 of toe box width, and then a toe box taper of 28 degrees, pretty standard. To me, once again, these just have pretty mellow fit to them. They break in incredibly well. Say a narrow medium foot and go true to size on these things. If you're narrow and don't have incredibly long feet or toes and you want a little bit of a better lockdown, you're not putting an orthotic in there, I think you can go down a half size. If you put an orthotic in them, you want the room, I'd say no problem going true to size. A 2E can go true to size if you want a little bit more room in them as a 2E. Say you have a huge bunion or tailor's bunion, you can go up a half size in them. Like I said, they lock down pretty well, and then a 4E, I'd probably just going up 1/2 size on these things. In terms of people and patients I'd be recommending these two, it's pretty much the same as the ones. People that want to put an orthotic in these, people that need a little bit more support for heel heel pain, ball of foot pain, being able to support an orthotic or a brace, people with kind of bottom of foot injuries, that dual density energy foam, plus a little bit more of that stout rear foot with that pretty thin flexible shank there that just goes pretty long. It just does feel very protective while still feeling pretty plush. Mizuno still found a way to make the shoe stable without feeling like a squishmallow, but also feeling pretty darn comfortable underfoot. So that to me is still a pretty nice feat of engineering. The uppers break in really nicely. So honestly, anywhere from a baseline grinder to a serve and volleyer that's pounding through the shoe all the time, just anybody that needs consistent, durable shock absorption while still having a pretty plush, pillowy feel underfoot, while not sacrificing that side to side, cutting power. Once again, these are fantastic. Let's not get it twisted. These are still really elite shoes. Just some differences from the ones. Some I liked, some I didn't, but still, a pretty darn good shoe. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, especially if you're going for the twos, if you love the ones, you hate the ones, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to see another shoe that went like way back to its roots, the Nike Vapor 12 or the Nike Hyper Smash, make sure you click into either of these videos up above, subscribe down below. Respect, rubber, and foam. I'll see you somewhere in the Sneakerverse.